They do have a meeting over there.
Oh, see, there's something going on over there.
It's kind of half a meeting.
Oh, okay. Right. But, all right, we don't have the minutes from our special meeting there, our joint meeting, but we'll try to get those for next meeting and kind of go from there. Just to update you on the EDC administrator's position, I was talking with Emmett, and basically I think we've got the job description put together, and hopefully that Emmett and I can get together next week and kind of get that started and see if we can't get that out.
So we don't have a ad yet?
No, it's written,
okay.
but it hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Oh.
And so I think that...
Is there a time frame as to when you want somebody in that position, or just whenever we get to it?
The ad called for us to basically until position is filled. We're going to run it until position is filled. So we didn't put an end date to it,
okay.
And so we'll see where it kind of goes to. The Goodspeed Landing, the town office site, the environmental review. Emmett, could you just give the board a little update as to where we are on that?
Well, the Eagle has finished their research, and they got a preliminary draft of the report. We're going to be meeting 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to review that and start looking it over. So I've looked at it a little bit. The buildings I can understand, soil I haven't got clues what they're saying. So they're going to have to explain it all to me tomorrow. See where it goes from there. I'm optimistic about what we're going to find.
Cool. You had said at the East Haddam Village Revitalization Committee meeting that you thought that there wasn't nearly as much in the way of...
What I've seen so far is less than I expected.
Cool.
But the soil is what's left right now. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
And that's under the buildings.
Outside of the buildings. See where that goes. The estimate that we had way back when was 400,000. I'm hoping we're going to be way under that. Hopefully. We'll see.
Well, the good thing is, though, is that the environmental group is back, meeting with us, and so hopefully we can finish that report up in the next couple of weeks or something. So that's the good thing, because obviously I want to get that out there as soon as we can with an RFP, and I think that the revitalization group is going to be working with Emmett, and we're going to be getting together. Hopefully we can get together next week and kind of get that in the works, and by that time we're going to have a good idea as to just exactly what that contamination is. I mean, the buildings are one thing. I mean, that's the stuff you can see and do something with. It's what's in the soils underneath that floor is what's always been the mystery, and that's what we really need to know what that is, and so hopefully we'll know.
A couple of meetings back, we had a developer come in and present an idea. Mm-hmm. Are there other people interested as well?
Yes, yes, and he's certainly done the most to give us an idea as to what he was going to be proposing, what the town would be getting, and certainly for an RFP, he's got it all done. He's ready to roll, and so I think that he's probably in the best shape to tell the community what they're proposing, and so that's Don Donner. He's someone who came in with that, and I thought he did a nice job. He did a nice presentation, and certainly gave us a good idea as to what he was thinking, who his tenants were going to be, and what uses he wanted to put the property to. So I think that's all the things the community wants to know, and they want to know what they're getting, what's it going to look like, and what's the use going to be. And I think the other important thing is how long is it going to take to get there? Is it something that's a year out? Is it 2 years out? Or how long out is it before we can see activity down there? So, and I think that, the village is going to go with what happens to the town property. I mean, there's a lot of properties now around the village that are for sale. And I think if we come up with a good, strong use for that town office site, I think the other buildings down there will start to show more interest. But I think the town is gonna be the key player here to lead the way to showing what we're going to do on that site down there, and then hopefully the others are gonna fall into place down there. And but I think we're the key player in what the town does with that site. So we'll see what comes of it, and what kind of, I think it'll be interesting, Jim, to see what proposals we get when we go out for an RFP. And I'm hoping that, we get a half a dozen of them, and so see what some interest might be out there. And because it's going to determine a lot what's going to happen in the whole Goodspeed Landing Village here. So we'll see what happens. Emmett, would you like to say anything that's going on in the selectman's office here?
Well, basically that's the biggie tomorrow. Revitalization did indicate that the next meeting, we're going to invite the town and have a forum and just try to get what people would like. What are the ideas that are out there? Really going to have to see what comes forth. Developers, that's the key.
They also were talking about the, whether we should sell it or we should lease it, long-term lease, so that was part of it.
We're gonna have to develop it. That means we're gonna put a lot of money into it. We're gonna stick our neck out big as a town. I don't know if we're quite ready for that.
Are we
one of the
talking about
things-
the landing?
Yeah. And one of the things we're looking for, we've got the grant, the Tiger grant, it's called a build grant now, for the sidewalk. We should hear something about that by October. That's really gonna be a big part of what happens.
What do they call that? Build?
It's called a build now, rather than a Tiger.
Okay. I take it those must mean those letters mean something?
No.
Okay.
It's a federal program.
Right.
When it was a Tiger, it was $500 million. When it's a build, it's $1.5 billion.
Oh, well, okay.
I'd go
I like a
with
build grant.
Yeah, I know, that's,
Yeah, which is distributed amongst different towns, right?
All throughout the nation.
no, it's all going to East Haddam. We wanted it all.
We're looking for about $18 million. To do a sidewalk for our share of that. And the state is eager and ready to work with us on that and make it all happen. So we're optimistic about that. I think we're as well positioned as anyone could be to get the grant. Conform exactly to what they're looking for. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so it's something that paperwork has already been submitted for
Paperwork
that?
was submitted.
That's the one that Haddam and Jim did together.
It's a joint between
Right.
Haddam and East Haddam. And that was submitted, almost a month ago now.
Yeah, it was in July, I think it was late July.
Yeah.
And other items weren't able to put on that, like the catwalk on the bridge? Was that considered, or there was
That's
just
what he's talking
That
limitations?
is what we're looking at.
That's what the 18 million
The
is for.
sidewalk on the bridge, not sidewalks in the village.
Yeah, no, this is the
No,
bridge.
we're gonna end up having to handle the sidewalk in our village. Atlas already putting theirs in, working
Okay.
on it. And
Right,
we're going with
skywalk.
that bid alongside the theater. So
Right.
for us, it's pretty minor compared to what's on the other side.
Now, does that include the walkway on the bridge?
That is what we're
That
looking
is.
for.
That's the 18
That's the
million.
build, that's the build grant.
That's the build.
Yep.
And the state of Connecticut was gonna pay for that, then they backed out on it, and they said, if you can find the money, we'll include that.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find the money.
And excuse me, just a reminder, when is that bridge project supposed to start again?
21 is when it should be.
Oh, they're
being
thinking
done.
not,
And
it's
the
moved up
key-
till,
Key is that they be done together, and the ideal situation is that we have our project for our property, where we're underway at the same time.
right. Yeah. Okay, very interesting. That's great.
So it's all coming together very nicely. And right now, Key's on that build.
Yeah. Now, excuse me, is that grant limited to access from Eagles Landing to the bridge, and then it stops as soon as you get into East Haddam? Because obviously,
It's on the bridge itself.
just the bridge itself.
Bridge itself.
Right.
Adam's gonna have to deal with sidewalk up to it. We're gonna have to deal with sidewalk.
And that was how much money?
I think it's 18 million, but don't hold me to it. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. And that has, as I said, been submitted. It's all in place.
And that grant is, how's that spelled, what you just said, build, B-I-L-L?
BUILD.
Oh, B-U-L-I, build, right.
Not a very,
sophisticated name, huh?
Yes, I thought Tiger was a little more.
Yeah, I know, Tiger sounds real more impressive here. But,
We quickly just bring Joe up to snuff on that build, B-U-I-L-D, grant.
what we're talking about is the sidewalk on the swing bridge. And so that we have basically applied for a grant to do
Yes,
it.
sir.
It's 18 million. And so we're probably gonna hear whether we're in the pot in October or whether it's not. And so we'll get a little idea as to whether that money is gonna be able to come into the town. I mean, obviously, what a huge construction project for the town, have an $18 million project going on.
And I believe I heard Emmett right, it's a two-town project.
Two-town project.
Because
It-
Adam,
Which
Is
makes
it
it
all-
more attractive to them,
Right.
actually. They're looking for rural,
Right.
for joint projects.
yeah, so it makes it a bit more enticing and possible when two towns come in, with more leverage, a little more importance to it, a need, so on, good.
So have we both applied for Haddam? and-
Jointly.
We did it together.
We did it together, so.
It's a
it'll
joint
be
application.
Administered by both
Terrific.
municipalities. Any contribution on our side?
Just basically, it's all
Yeah.
grant money.
Not asking me for any money?
Not asking for any money, so you don't have to vote no, Joe. Because we know you don't vote yes.
But we get, if there's any guarantee, if we
sitting
do
next
get
to
it,
you
there's
today.
any guarantees that nobody will send it back? Can we get that? Can we
Yeah.
get it written that nobody can send
All
it
right
back?
now, all right, settle down.
I'm just asking, details, we have to know.
I'm not gonna send it back.
Okay, just
Well, this
checking.
is something where, you know, we don't have maintenance either. This is something that's owned by the state of Connecticut. That's the key there.
Right.
They-
And
we don't own
clarify one thing, is it still in the proposal for, two ways? A two-sided walkway, or is it
No,
one side?
no, it's just one side.
They decided just to do it one side.
Just one side on the south side, because it started off on the north side, and now it's on the south side. And so they basically have to take the whole operations and move it to the other side. Right now, the operation of the bridge is on the south side.
But I am a little surprised to hear that it wouldn't have been more of a balanced situation to have it.
Well, no, they have to balance it, but they're gonna balance it with beams.
Question of what they
And,
do
uh,
right now.
But, no, the cost would be
I was
a
just
huge
saying,
amount.
Is that gonna affect the pivot again?
No, let's hope not. Let's hope they've learned something about that,
Yeah,
huh?
so let's hope it doesn't go that way.
Right. But I think at least it gives us, I mean, we're in the pot. We're in the pot, we're applying, so that's good.
Everything goes two ways, everybody else does not.
All right, I think that's probably what's going on in Goodspeed Landing. Obviously, that's the big thing that's down there is, we'll see what happens with the bridge and we'll see what happens with the, town property down there. And I think that's, gonna be the key to what's going on. Tourism, the fall weekend? Sue, would you like to bring us
It's a big deal. It's turned out to be a really nice project in coordination with the East Haddam Business Association. This is just kind of a recap. This is what's been given to Julia Balfour to kind of just what we're gonna put in the flyer, but it also gives you guys a really good update of what's going on.
Thank you.
Basically, we have about 13 of what we're calling signature events. Those are the main things that are going to draw people to the town. From the steam train ride and the shuttle for the passengers to Goodspeed Opera House, the Riverview Cemetery, the Historical Society, the 1740 Palmer's Open House, Project Graduation's doing Touch a Truck, East Haddam Leos are doing an Apple Fest. We have the Foliage Folk Festival going on. We have the Staley's Farm Wine Fall Flavor Festival. We have the East Haddam Youth and Family Services Rider Stride. The Friends of Gillette Castle is doing a hike that weekend, and iPark is having an open house. So if that's not enough, just
Get people here.
events for a town, let alone beautiful fall leaves and all of our hiking Devil's Hop Yard and all of the other things. So if you guys look at the other 2 pages, that'll be on the front of the flyer, just what I just read to you. And then on the very back of the flyer that we're going to put in the newspaper, so it'll get out to everybody in Haddam and in East Haddam. It'll be a more definition, and this is pretty much what it's going to look like on the backside of telling about what the 12 signature events are. And then when you go over to the next page, you'll see it says Moodus, East Haddam Village, and then Town Street, and it's on the back. Those are all the businesses, and we have 38 businesses that are joining us in celebrating fall here in East Haddam. They're all doing something at their business, at their location. The business owners have been pretty excited about the fact that they're going to be a part of the marketing and such, and they're going to not have to leave their actual business and be able to celebrate, get people to come in. Some are coupons, some are specials, some are some other things going on. And then the big one that we were hoping that we could pull off, it looks like it is going to come to fruition, and this is the one that we're going to have a community bonfire. And that's going to be taking place at Miller Pond, where we do the ice skating. And that'll be on Saturday evening at 7 to 9. It's going to be listed in that. This is drawn up for us by a young lady in town, a middle schooler that wanted to supply some artwork for us. And we're going to send out invitations, again, just by email to all the businesses and make sure that, because they're all closed by then for the most part. The restaurants are still open. And try to just get everybody to come, have a community bonfire, family-friendly environment. We're hoping to get some support from the fire department.
Yep,
Bob's working on that.
I talked to them, and they are on board. And,
Okay. And then the last thing to do is I'll be talking to the surrounding businesses, letting them know that we're expecting people to be parking in that area and such. What I can use from some of you guys, if you'd all like to volunteer for an event, is we need probably a bunch of people with flashlights, making sure that it's safe for people to walk across the street. And we also need some people to build the fires and get that all going and stuff. So, whoever would like to volunteer from that. We won't meet again as an EDC before this event occurs. So,
and I'm going to take.
Well, I'm a Girl Scout, so I'll take fire duty.
I was a Girl Scout too, so
I can
you
start
and I.
with one match.
Oh, all right, this is going to be a test.
You and I.
A test is coming
No, you
on.
can't use matches.
This has been met with really excitement from the town, you guys. People are really feeling like they've been included from Moodus all the way down to the other end, and excited that they're going to get to be a part of this, and that there's this much stuff going on to bring people into town.
Yep.
So.
No, I was talking with Joe down at Sanibel's, and I told him, thanks for joining in with us and having your sandwiches. He said, hey, you want them? We're going to sell sandwiches out here. He was, and Joe doesn't get excited.
And so
We're starting to reel him in, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Involved.
Yes.
We'll start doing some things with the East Haddam Business Association, because they're a co-sponsor with us. On their website, they'll start putting out things, and on their Facebook site and such. And we'll start doing little blurbs and things like that, just building some excitement for it.
Are we doing, or is Julia doing, or whatever?
That was the last thing I knew.
Outside of East Haddam, and
Through the Facebook and through the web stuff that they're doing.
we're gonna have posters like down in Chester and Deep River.
Yes, and
East Hampton. And
the front
Chester.
side of the thing that's going to be in the newspaper is going to be a poster, and it'll be fairly large size, so that those will be the posters that we use in the windows. And I'm trying to remember who, it was a whirlwind last week getting this all done. Was it Lenore that was going to talk to the Connecticut Tourism and get it put on the,
On the
Connecticut
website? Okay.
on their website? The information that you gave to me. Yeah, she was working with that
Good.
and stuff. So we have that, and then I'm drawing a blank. What else I was going to say? And then we'll just get them posters throughout the area and such. And there was some
It's
conversation.
definitely worthwhile to bring people from other towns to see.
Right, and there was conversation about trying to just email with some of the local news stations, the weathermen, because they're always looking someplace to take their little 4-tracker or their little trucks and their drones and their everything else out, and talk to them and see, if we can at least get on their radar that, we're the little town that could, and we got 13 events and 38 businesses, and wouldn't they like to come broadcast live, and so we're working on that kind of stuff with them, so.
Where is the bonfire gonna be?
There's the pond, the Lions Club Pond, Miller Pond, it's right across from Shag Bark, and, yeah, right there.
Excuse me, so doesn't that have to be prepped before you can bring something like that in?
Prepped is in,
Is mold?
Mow it,
or-
yes.
Yes.
And I think that we're gonna take and see if, usually that's about the time of the year they mow it.
It is.
Because they wanna do it while it's still dry.
Right.
And so we're hoping that it's gonna be mowed. We're gonna take and talk to the Lions and see if that timing works out.
Alan Clark still do
Eh,
it. Alan Clark always. did.
Yeah, Alan was doing it, and there was also another fellow from down Headline.
Jeff
who was-
Wiswell was doing it.
Yes, Griswold was doing it, and
and as I was looking
his
at it,
machine looked too small to do that big area out there. I
The
saw
other-
him out there.
the
It's a
other thing I
little
was hoping
machine.
for prep was when and I had to talk with Bob about the fire department, but as the plot lays right here and the lake's right there, I'm hoping that we get a fire truck right here and a fire truck right there to kind of line it, because we really don't want anybody parking right there. We want them parking over on these edges or on the other edges and stuff, because we have to have a place for people to congregate, and we really don't want them leaning against people's car or walking by it and accidentally, scratching it or something like that. So we really want to keep that area as open as possible.
Good.
Stuff. So we had a big rush to get everything because we're on a very tight to get it designed and to the printers and everything. So once we got all the stuff that has to go on the flyer, now we can breathe and we can make all these little ticky-tacky arrangements about the stuff.
Well, it's kind of key that the fire department, if the fire department wasn't going to be there, then that's going
Yeah.
to change. That's
Yeah.
a whole different story.
And we're
So-
hoping that we can kind of do it as a little bit of an informal fundraiser for the fire department where they just pass the boot.
Right.
But I think it's important that, and I've got a great response from the fire department that they would like to take in and be a part of this. So that was a real nice response from them. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
Gonna
we got a
check.
good group of guys over there.
Yeah, well, they're actually building, the fire
They're very-
department is
they're very
building up
dedicated.
some people, so that's great.
And the only thing we need is to probably get approved.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and also the lights that the Lions have. I don't know whether those are alive or whether we can just switch them on or not. So that's something I want to check with the Lions Club and see if those lights are alive up there, and if we can turn those lights on. Certainly when people are coming and going, and certainly at the end of it, you want to be able to throw those lights on.
Yeah.
out there.
What
And that's
were the
what I
hours
say
for
is-
the bonfire? What were the hours? What were
7
the
to
hours
9.
for the bonfire?
7 to 9.
7 to 9.
Yeah, we figured that's,
And are we,
Good time.
we should probably, I would say that if we're gonna be there and kind of do our directives by 6:30, I
Oh,
would
yeah.
think,
Yes.
that we should
yes.
definitely be there and stuff and start.
Yeah.
And I can support that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I said, that's someplace that, everything else is kind of turnkey for each business and all the events and stuff, they're the fundraisers for all their own independent things and stuff. So really, all that they need from us is to participate and go to the businesses and identify yourself as, EDC and,
Have our EDC badge.
yeah, and thank you for being a part of it and stuff. But then this is the one that we kind of need to manage and.
Yes, yeah, we need to be around for
Right,
that
for
one.
that one and stuff.
And
Especially, like I said, we're gonna, Two Wrestling Cats has talked about going ahead and staying open that night. I have to confirm that with Mark. He just thought that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Jess is talking to Fred at Shagbark, whether we want to have their gates open or their gates just closed. I would think that,
Well, you've got
there's-
that across the street
Yeah,
on there.
yeah, and
I mean,
then-
there's maybe, probably 12 or 15 parking spaces on
Right.
that side of the street.
And then right along the other side, and then I'm gonna go up and talk to all the business owners up along the industrial park.
Right.
So that they know that we'll be having this, so if they don't want someone parking in their lot, they
We'll
can,
put put some cones across there.
put cones or,
Yep.
tape or something across it and stuff, so that, we want it to be
Business friendly.
friendly,
too.
right, and we wanna make friends and not
Enemies.
be a burr on somebody's side.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't read anything else that you're gonna have the bonfire and that's it?
That night,
Just bonfire?
just show up with the bonfire, chit chat.
Yeah.
As we talk to people, we're saying, if you've got a guitar and you play music, bring that. I've heard from some groups that well, can we sell, marshmallows, or can we bring marshmallows?
Yeah, nice idea.
Again, not a lot of structure to it and stuff. I kind of
See what
let it
happens.
take a life of its own and see where it goes and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, it'd obviously be nice if we had some music down there.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be just kind of fun.
yeah, and
to
stuff.
sing.
So again, that's those little
Right,
minutia
we'll
details
fill in the
that-
details.
Yeah,
here,
that,
and,
yeah, come and be surprised.
Yes. But, and then,
Just bring your guitar and we'll sing.
I will assure you, I won't be singing, so.
but, now, for fuel for this, should we be looking for Shagbark?
Yeah, we should talk
pallets and
to,
that
yeah,
kind
we
of
should
stuff?
probably talk to, Fred and some people about getting some pallets and some things.
Save his pallets.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
stuff like that and stuff. So, I mean, we don't want the fire to get too out of hand, but by the same time, we want a nice roasty, you know, so everybody can bask in the glow. And I did look, and it's not a full moon. I was hoping that it's a sliver moon, so I was like, oh, that would be really cool if it was a full moon, but, you know,
You can't have everything.
can't have everything.
Well,
But
we could put an order and see what happens.
there you go, there you go. But I'm just really excited that this came together really, really well, you
And
guys.
it came fabulously
Yeah,
together.
and stuff. And when you consider that this started 3 years ago with
4
just little itty bitty, you know, and the train coming through, and you know, we basically had just a couple little stuff going on, the car show and you know, Staley's and stuff, and now that we've
Is the
grown
train
into
running?
Yes.
yes,
And they're gonna do a trolley over to East
yes,
Haddam
for their passengers
that are on the train?
that are on the train.
And they're bringing them where?
Just they do the loop where they go up to they stop it by St. Stephen's and they go back down. They stop by Town Center, Two Wrestling Cats. They turn, they go up to by Staley's. They go up, they turn around in the Historical Society parking lot and come back down, run the route, pick up.
And they also go over to the cooking company.
Right.
So they go to the cooking company, come back across, go up 82, hit everything on 82, and as you say, then they go up to, and they turn around in that parking lot of the Historical Society, which gives them, it's great, because they got enough room to make that turns. And then that's the loop they keep making. And they were, I think, extremely generous to take and do this again this year for the businesses of Haddam and East Haddam, and basically it's East Haddam. We're the beneficiary of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, of course.
they were extremely cooperative and said they wanted to cooperate with the town of East Haddam. This is the Essex Valley Railroad, the Steam Valley,
Railroad.
and
they're doing the busing?
they're doing
They
the
do
busing.
they do the train from Essex
Yeah.
up to the Goodspeed Station and then bus the folks.
So yeah, so they're supplying the buses to bring them over to East Haddam businesses, and
Stop at different places?
yeah, they're going to stop at Town Tavern. They're going to go over and stop at basically the Two Wrestling Cats, and go up to Staley's. They stop there. That's usually one of their biggest ones, and go up to the East Haddam Historical. East Haddam Historical, I talked to them last Monday night. They will be open and have personnel on hand, so that they will be open and have it available too. So I think we got some good participation, and I was very pleased with
Well, and
Essex Steam Train. They were just so cooperative for East Haddam businesses.
And we've tried to do things so that we have like, the Moody's area is doing a lot of things with the businesses, and then Dutch Oil and Liberty Bank in their parking lot is having a jump house and a little kids thing. Then they're gonna have Touch a Truck here in the town lot, and then when you go to the Grange, they're gonna have the Leo Apple Fest will be there, and then they'll have, over at St. Stephen's, they'll have the cemetery walk, and then they'll have the Staley's whole thing there. Then they have the tours at the Palmer House and and then Sunday there's 3 different events that occur just on Sunday. So
Is this the day that the cemetery walk is?
Yes.
They're putting on by the North School?
yes,
No,
Yeah.
it'll be over at St. Stephen's.
yeah, but it is the North School.
Oh, it's the North School
School is-
group,
yes.
but
Yes.
the cemetery tour is next to St.
Yeah.
Stephen's. Yeah. And from what I understand, it's going to be bigger and better than what they've had
That's what I
before.
understand, and I've been volunteered to collect money.
Oh yeah, it was really fun last year. So.
Well, it's funny, we all get volunteered for some of these projects, don't we, Joe?
So the last thing is, guys, is I have to get your approval for spending some money for the marketing.
Yep.
Julia Balfour
Oh,
will
hey
make
guys, basically we're putting together, go ahead.
Julia Balfour will make a contribution and a donation. Last year, all told, it came to about $2,500. We put in our $1,500, and she picked up the tab for the additional amount. She used a printer that she uses that gives her a really good deal. I may be able to work with something and get us a pretty good deal on the printing also, so we'll make sure that we get that covered and stuff. But I just need, probably a motion that it's okay to spend that.
Absolutely, we need, basically, we have in the budget, monies for this. This is what we've used in the past. The $1,500 is our total amount we have in the budget for that line item. But it's been so successful. Last year it was so successful. This year it's going to be bigger than we've ever done, thanks to Sue. So you've done a fabulous job.
No, thanks to the
Yep,
Business
no.
Association.
Well-
Their combination with this just brought it to life.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful cooperation
Yeah,
from the
it's been
Business
amazing,
Association.
yeah.
And we've had, I think we're building a great relationship
Mm-hmm.
with the Business Association here. And this just makes it so we get all the businesses involved. We could not have done this without the Business Association. And so I think teaming up and making this team effort.
They were fun to work with too. They were just really
Yeah,
fun.
they
'Cause
were.
We broke into teams, and
Yep.
it was, it was a good thing. We've met 3 times I think, and they bring a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, they bring 6 or 7 people when we have just a little work session and stuff. So they've been great to work with.
It is, I think it's great, and I'll certainly make the motion to basically fund this with $1,500 for the publishing and printing and marketing, so that basically I think this is one of our best programs that really get everybody involved.
A second.
That's what we did last year.
We did that last year, yes.
And she put
She
more money.
she donated
Yeah,
another
yeah.
$1,000 in order to take and
Get
get
Is
this.
she doing that again?
She will.
She's making a
yes.
donation.
Yeah, they'll make a donation to whatever it costs. They know what our budget is, and then they work with that and stuff. They've been, yeah.
So, yeah, so they do make a donation to the economic development.
And they'll bring their crew is planning on coming to the bonfire, and they're planning on doing yoga in the yard and stuff. So, but we have a motion for this.
Yep, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, basically to fund this, this fall weekend. And any other comments about the expenditure, the $1,500? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All those in favor? And motion carries unanimously. So I think that's going to be a really great weekend here. And so
Rain or shine.
yep, it's rain or shine, and I was also very pleased that to have the contact of having the basically well the Palmer Warner House on it and having Landmark become a part of this.
Yeah,
This is the
that's a
first
switch.
time we've ever had any reaching out here for what we're doing, and I think that it's a good first step to developing a relationship with the Landmarks, and so I think that we're going to see if we can make this work for them too, so that we want them a part of it. They're sitting right in the middle of our tourist zone down there.
The new sign is beautiful.
It seems like it's gonna be a little jammed up though with all the construction going on there now, right?
Well, they can
Park
still,
in and out of there.
yeah, they're planning on being able to get around to the back lot to
Yeah.
be able to park back there. So they're gonna pull the fence back a little bit so they can get around and park back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Cemetery sign?
definitely
Oh, yeah.
filled
Yeah,
up
it's
with
gorgeous.
that.
Yeah.
But they may have that pretty well down by then though. It looks like the rate they're going, I think that building's gonna be down. And
Are they going to put half of it back up?
they're gonna put a total building back up.
They're gonna bring it right back to the same.
Right back to the
footprint.
same thing, but they're gonna be putting new foundations under it, the whole 9 yards. And but they are saving all the usable material out of those barns. So I think it's just, I like to see that become part of the business community and certainly a part of our tourist community here to take and have them on board with us. And so they contacted me, and I basically got back to them and made it so that I wanted them to feel welcome, and certainly making them part of this. I'm going to send this up to them so that they can see that we're giving them good exposure here, and I think they needed a little
And when we
improved
get the
PR.
flyers, we'll send them all to all the businesses. We'll make sure that
Oh, okay.
everybody that's participating
Maybe we'll get
gets,
some.
yeah, and
Okay.
stuff. So I don't know, does this now or later, do you wanna?
Oh, you can get into that now. Would you like?
Okay, just the last thing is, guys, remember September 20th, we're having the Colorado Economic Resource, Center is coming here at 6:30 to do an hour and a half presentation on East Haddam economic development. I'm going to pass these out. Take a couple if you'd like, because if you can give them to someone, encourage businesses to come to the event and such. I've been kind of posting them around town. Linda put it out to all the department heads and all the commissions and such. The fuller the house, the better. Again, it's an hour and a half, and it's going to be based on just numbers about East Haddam and where our growth should go, and some suggestions from the experts.
Well, and I've invited the other towns, Haddam, Chester, Deep River. I haven't given them to Deep River yet. Deep River doesn't have an economic development commission. They are basically putting one together, but they have some members that are picked. So I invited their members that are going to be placed on their economic development board, and invited them also. So just wanted to try and include Deep River in what's going on here too. And I thought for them, it's absolutely perfect for new members to hear, what is going on with economic development.
I've not been to one, but I do know that it gets you a lot of attention from the Economic Resource Center, and that's what we want, is we want to be on their radar screen. We want them to come and work with us, talk with us, favor our grants and everything else that we want and stuff. So this is kind of the first step to, really getting on their radar screen and being super involved with that resource.
Yeah,
And so are we setting up any refreshments?
Water.
Just water, okay.
Yeah, and that's all they asked is, and so I just figured that, I'd buy a couple cases of water. I mean, it's a whole, $9 expenditure? my commitment.
Well, we're putting it together, but I think that, I hope that the other towns will also join in with us and be a part of this, because I think it's a good program.
The only thing she wanted us to be aware of is that if other towns come, they need to be aware that the information's good, but it'll be all based on East Haddam numbers.
Yeah, but that's fine. I think it's knowing what the information, and you can always plug in your own numbers.
Right, and they're really, for us, they're really very insistent that it's going to work best if we have P&Z along with the EDC and everybody, so that we're all on the same page and hearing the same information.
Yeah,
So.
at the same time. It usually works better that way. That's for sure.
That's it for me.
Well, thank you very much, and you have done a great job.
Thank you.
And I certainly appreciate all your efforts in this. And I think that really we have to thank the Business Association, because that has made such a difference in organizing this. And it's also nice to have some more bodies. It's amazing what more bodies do. So and I think this is going to grow. I see this being the first year of working jointly, and I think it's working for both of us. So I think it'll be great. What I was looking for is the also to pick a business of the month. For this month, of course, was.
Is everybody? Yeah, I was going to say, is everybody up to date that we had Cadence 360 in July with Kai Kazi Karate. Was the first. The second month was Julia Balfour and her whole team. And then this month, which we had a bye month, so we kind of had to just, but it's Grand View Camp Resorts. It hit the paper today with them in there and the sign and the picture of our local celebrities. So now we need nominations for October.
And what we were looking for is, basically, was people who took underutilized buildings and made investments, big capital investments in these properties. And certainly the three that we've had so far, they basically all did this. They bought properties that were in need of repair, in need of a new life and a new uses. And I think that's kind of what we've accomplished with the first three. And that was always been one of the things that economic development wanted to do, was to see these buildings that were not being utilized, that were empty buildings, and have somebody make these big capital improvements to bring them up and get new life in.
Like Cadence 360, there's 4 businesses in that little business now that used to be the doctor's office.
And it was an all vacant building.
Yeah.
And, and what we tried to do is also something in Moodus, something in the village, and something, so we also mix it up between our 3 commercial districts here. And
so does anybody have any businesses that they,
would
I'd
like,
like to recommend Morfit.
Morfit, I think, is certainly, there's another one that basically has done a beautiful job with that mill building there.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a
yeah,
very, very good choice to
What
do.
was the name of that?
it's Morfit. It's down on Creamery Road. If you've never been there, you should go in there. They've taken it's amazing what they've done in restoration in the building. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it really looks wonderful down there.
And any other nominations at this point in time?
Do we need a motion for more FET?
I was gonna take all the nominations and then we'll see if we wanna,
Yeah, they can,
What about, Dutch with the cleanup at the propane building?
yes.
Are they using it?
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, the lower mill building, yeah. Yep, I think that would also be one that would be a very nice one to give some recognition to Dutch, because he did a great job with that building.
Yeah.
And, very, very nice job. And,
And then, like I say, as you're making your mind.
Yeah, I'm driving around town.
Yeah, drive around and in your mental mind here, drive around to, you know,
I mean,
businesses
I
that are
park-
a little bit off the,
They put a new building in, they put a new music building in. I
well,
park-
no, no, they
But I mean, they,
basically
you know,
renovated those buildings out there.
place.
Yeah,
I'd also like to suggest two others.
I park.
One is 32 Higher Coffee.
Oh, 32
Main,
Main,
yeah.
yeah.
Give them some credit because God bless them, they're still open and that's just fantastic that
Yes.
we've got them in our building.
And they're busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
They, for a
That's a great
small
shop.
little coffee shop.
It's a fun thing to have in our
Yes.
town and it complements the
Yes,
town.
it,
Not to mention, the building next door, the barber shop, is a fun thing to see.
yep,
Yeah.
I'm glad to
Yes.
see
That
that.
looks
It
like,
was
yeah,
always a
pretty
business.
revitalized in
And
there.
it kind of adds a little something to that, to see the barber shop sign out.
it does.
I get pleasure out of it.
I know it. I'll agree with you.
it's that small town kinda,
Yeah, so I think it's a great thing.
Yes.
And then also, we've got something new that's gonna be happening with the route agency, Century 21. We're gonna get some new activity there, so that really enlightens that whole neighborhood.
Yeah, obviously, we don't know what's gonna happen there yet. Something's happening?
Be a business.
Oh, okay, yes,
Be
yeah,
inviting for it, doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
but.
yes, but something going on. But,
so it looks like we have 4 nominations, does anybody else have?
Did
We
you
have-
write barber shop down there?
Yeah, so there was 5,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So we have, Morfit, Dutch Propane, iPark, Higher Grounds, and then I don't know the name of the barber shop other than barber shop.
I don't either. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know the real name, but.
Okay, and I did have one other that I wanted to nominate too, and just to throw out there and stuff. Nathan Hale Pharmacy. There is nothing busier in this town than Nathan Hale Pharmacy. And when they talk about things, if we didn't have that pharmacy, I can't imagine where this town would be without that pharmacy. I mean, for all my aspirin and my, they're just the little engine that could. I mean, just.
Yeah, Jack does a great job.
Yeah,
He
just
does,
amazing.
he
So
does.
that was the one that I had thought of and
Yeah.
stuff. So
And, there's no doubt that Jack does quite the job down
Love
there.
Jack.
Yeah.
and how we've talked about how maybe running this is we'll vote and then we'll keep these names and then they'll be like we can add to them each month and then we can and stuff and
Right, we'll throw a few more up there.
We know which one this month.
Right,
yeah and
exactly.
stuff. So yeah.
Exactly.
And you know again we want to give credit to a lot of the little mom and pops and then the bigger larger ones that make our town so it's kind of for everyone. There's no.
Yep, and then basically, I think it's really nice to just recognize these businesses and let them know that we recognize that they're done something.
Summer was tough, you guys, because everybody's gone and stuff. But it really is fun to go and tell them that they're the business of the month, and then just the 5 minutes for the little picture. It just really, I don't know, it's corny and stuff, but they really like it.
It's corny.
It's corny. I mean, it's corny. It is. It's like we're there with our little cameras, taking our little pictures and stuff. But they really like it.
Yeah.
All the businesses have enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would venture to say they've all
Yeah.
been very happy with it.
Yeah.
And,
So.
I'd say out of the 5, somebody want to pick one and we can act upon it for this month or?
Show of hands.
They all sound good.
I've had my share of picking. Let's delegate someone else to pick.
Start from the top and go down.
I was going to say, how about Morfett? I'll throw it to
I'll
one.
throw one for Morfett.
Would Morfett be? Would
Well,
that
I mean,
be?
as we thought of them, why don't we just go down the list?
All right, so how many for more
Wanna
fit?
do
Raise your
that?
hand.
For Morfit?
Yeah, I think
fine.
Morfit has done a wonderful
Okay.
job down there.
So that'll be, October. I can't believe we've already done 4 of these. And then as these are done, the other element is the picture and a recap of the part that we put in the newspaper. I'm putting it together and then I'll submit it to Linda to get into Events Magazine. So the businesses get local and then they get a little boost again from the quarterly magazine. So.
Great.
All right, so do we wanna take this list and make it, retain it?
Yeah, we're gonna retain it,
Yeah.
and next month
Retain this,
we'll,
And then
we'll
we'll-
add
and-
more, we'll add
we'll-
more
Correct.
next month.
well, let's think of some others that are
And then
involved,
we'll
and
just keep,
we'll keep
does that
bringing
sound
it.
good?
Yeah, yep.
All right, do
Yep.
we need a motion for that?
No,
No.
we'll just keep the list because we're gonna use this list.
But
Okay.
I mean, we can, I move that Morfit's the October business of the month.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
I
And all
beat
in
you to
favor?
this one. It didn't cost us any money for the taxpayers, so I was all right with that.
All right, we got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
You can't vote
It was
twice,
It was
Joe.
the 18 million when I came in the door.
Oh, that
I'm
got
never
you.
I'm not gonna come
You
late
thought we
again
were gonna
next
take and
time.
have to match it, huh?
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
This gave
you
me a
didn't realize that
hard
was
time.
matching funds. All right, no, that's great then, that's great. And, all right, I wanted to take and bring up now the expansion of the industrial zone. That's what Shagbark is here for. And we wanted to take and see, basically they're looking to expand their properties and to, right now, half of their property is in an industrial zone. And the other half is in a residential zone, and the residential zone is where all the power lines are. And so it seemed like it would make a lot of sense if we look at a proposal from Shagbark that is something where they want to expand back into where the power lines are back there. And so they supplied me with some information, and I'm going to let Julie or Fred take and give us a little input as to,
We have enough to.
Yeah, we have enough to give to, like Emmett and, yeah.
Okay, one for Emmett?
basically, Julie, would you like to address the board?
Sure. Thank you for taking the time to hear our request tonight. And I think on behalf of Shagbark, I'd like to give all of you the EPC kudos for all the wonderful work you're doing in our town and promoting and expanding business in accord with the values of the town. So basically, if you look at your package, okay, you'll see there's a map at the back. Okay, so this cover sheet or letter to the EDC refers to this particular map. So what Shagbark's looking to do, can everybody see this in
Yep.
there? So this is all R1 zoning at this time. This is all the R1 district. So if you look at section A on the map, we would like to extend the IG2 district to that area, and then the rest of it, which is designated by a B, we would like to classify as a new district, IG3A. And if you look at the second page of this handout, the proposed uses for IG3A. And basically what this new district would do is take some of the uses from IG2 and some of the uses from IG3.
If I could, basically right now there is existing IG2 zones and there's all allowable uses that are for the IG2 zone. Across the street, like where the town garage is, and basically a little industrial area over there, that's now IG3. And I think what Julia is proposing is something that's very, the B on the map is the IG3A, and so they've made some extensions to the uses of the existing IG3, which is now an existing zone. And it's basically, it'll be across the street from what's being proposed by Shagbark. I think it's pretty much in keeping with what's going on in the whole area right there. And so, Julie, I'll let you continue.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Since we're on the IG3A, is the addition to the IG3 the self-storage? There's not, I don't see a comparison. What's additional to from IG3?
There are a few
To the IG3A.
IG2 uses in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
IG3A. I think the dance studio, health club, landscaping, product are in. Bob, do you have the list of the current IG districts?
No,
I don't have it with me.
I don't
So
either.
I picked those off of the IG2 district. I think all the others are currently in IG3. And there's one additional one, which is retail sales as accessory to any available use, which is the only addition to current uses.
That was, that wording with the retail sales as an accessory was just added last meeting by planning and zoning to the IG3. So,
okay.
so that is now just a use that is in the IG3 now. It's that retail sales, and that was basically requested by a business in the area, and that was granted at the last P&Z meeting. I think the only change between the 3 and the 3A is going to be dance studios and health club. All the other ones are basically listed in the IG3 that exists across the street.
I think landscape and product is in 2.
I believe that's,
I believe-
it's in 2, but I believe it's also in 3 too, I believe. I could be wrong, Julie, but I believe it is. It seemed like that was part of the,
All seems reasonable.
Yeah.
I just think it's great because it's pretty close to the existing uses that we have
Yeah,
now
that's why I did-
across the street.
Without the book, and
Yeah.
the retail sales,
As an
it all
accessory.
seemed reasonable, so I didn't jump out at me that there was something really extraordinarily new.
Has this gone to wetlands yet?
No.
Is there a problem with where you're looking, do you know? Do you think?
Well,
I don't see why it would be a problem
no,
with
wetlands back there,
wetlands.
so
I mean, we
sure.
just,
heavy issue.
I don't, I mean, you're obviously on a body of water, so I don't know,
Well, I think what they're looking to do though, that will become applicable when it becomes a use, when they go actually to get a building permit and that sort of thing. This is looking to do the zoning part of it. So I think that first you gotta, if you can do the zoning part.
No, I understand that, I'm just curious as to whether or not you guys are gonna run into.
Hopefully our vacation won't last.
This wouldn't Smith here.
But, go ahead, Jim.
Is this a zoning issue?
Yes, but basically what this is,
Asking our support.
So this must be the road.
the last time economic development, basically, when
Yeah.
this became the IG2 zone, we did a lot of the zoning. We practically worked with planning and zoning for over a year to rezone this. It was very messy zoning down there. So economic development basically made the presentations and made the requests to planning and zoning. From the letter that Shagbark has just given us, they're requesting that we do the same thing that we did before.
Who owns the property?
Shagbark Corporation. And so we would be basically making the request for it. That makes it a little bit easier for the businesses because they're not the ones who are proposing it. Economic development would be proposing it. But I've spent quite a bit of time with the Plan of Conservation and Development that's on the table right now. And one of the things that are in there is that we expand the industrial zones into appropriate areas. This, having the power lines through it, I don't think you could have anything more appropriate to have an industrial use than someplace where you've got high tension power lines.
And the red is the power line, right?
It is,
Yeah. Yep, that's a right of
that's
way.
the easement, yeah.
So I think that, Julia, am I correct on this, that you'll be requesting economic development to make this proposal to planning and zoning?
Yeah, and that's what's outlined in this letter, to the EDC, specifically to you, Mr. Chairman, that we, expand the zoning east, the R2,
Yep.
the IG2
Yep.
east to the westerly side and northerly side of the power lines, and then, everything beyond the westerly side and above the northerly side to be sectioned as IG3A.
Okay, yep. And I think really it comes out in the letter in the first paragraph there that they're requesting that East Haddam Economic Development submit the request and apply to the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission for the map amendments to the zoning change. And so I think that since we were so involved in this through the last process, it ended up being...
Makes sense to continue it.
Right.
Yeah, and it also made it so that I think we developed a good working relationship with planning and zoning, and I think they even looked for input from us as to whether we think any of these zone changes that get involved, I think they really want those to come through economic development. And I think that if we weren't in support of it, then I think they want to know that, and it's probably not going to go anywhere. But I think that if we support it, then I think that we can go to P&Z and basically help the businesses do
I
that.
understand now.
And Julie, would you like to?
Well, just in support of what you're saying, Bob, actually, Jim Ventry suggested this, process,
Okay.
again, going through EDC.
Yeah.
So,
And I talked to him earlier today or yesterday about this, and he relayed the same thing to me. He thought it was more appropriate that it comes through economic development than to have basically individual property owners making proposals on commercial properties. And so I think that they're looking for input from economic development, want to know that we're behind this and that we support this request that Shagbark is bringing to us.
Yeah, making a smoother ride,
Yes.
especially since we don't have a coordinator yet.
Yeah, and but I think that we can do that as a commission, and
Yeah.
And I think that basically between all of us, we can certainly make a presentation to planning and zoning and let them know that we support increasing
Absolutely.
this to an industrial area, and hopefully we could see some buildings out there.
Excuse me, what did you say about section B? What were your plans with section B?
okay, so section B would be the new, district, the, IG3A district, and we have those uses that are on attachment 2 in your package. Basically, what Shagbark is thinking of doing there right now, you see like a little black that is labeled B1, and to put in commercial warehouse rental space.
And that small block that says B.1?
Yes.
How big is that area?
You'll see noted above, it's 10,000 square feet.
That one area, yeah.
Yeah.
What's there now?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. It would be a good place to, it would be well screened. Nobody would see it from the road. So I think, it would be acceptable to neighbors. It would be a really, low traffic type of business.
Isn't any houses up
No,
past the thing there?
no, there really isn't.
Any commercial storage?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, commercial storage, I see like plumbers, electricians, you probably have a health club there.
I had another question, if I may. Is that all right? Okay. Why IG3A for only B? Why is there a reason not to do A and B as IG3A? I mean, just for everything?
There's some different uses, the basically the IG2, there's different uses.
No, I understand that, but
So I think that the IG
Wouldn't it-
2 is more based on retail use.
Yeah.
And I think this has road frontage and is basically more open. So I think that what they're looking to do there is more similar to Shagbark itself and more of a retail use. Where the B is, let's say, a little bit more of the rental of more commercial spaces,
Yeah.
Industrial spaces, you know, typically warehousing spaces and that sort of thing.
It's a beautification kind of issue, because the B is gonna be up on the road, or I'm sorry, A is gonna be up on the road where people are driving by, and so they want it to probably look more like, you know, the beautiful barn, Shagbark look, and they wanna limit the warehousey
Well, I just didn't want to,
hidden away so that you don't see that
are
stuff.
there enough uses in 2 to accommodate you
Yeah.
in
and
A?
That makes-
there aren't-
I didn't want you to limit yourself if you're,
There aren't any plans, like Shagbark
Yeah.
doesn't have any plans for expansion into that area right now. You know, it could be a possible future expansion. Right now, we wanna focus on the 3A.
so what's in IG2 is sufficient for A?
Yes.
Okay.
We've talked, we talked about it.
That was it was just that I didn't want you to limit yourself if, you
No,
know,
we
and have us
appreciate
go
your
back through the
concern.
entire process.
Yeah,
Again,
same.
if there was one item on the list of IG3A that we needed for A, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we appreciate your concern.
That's the question I just asked, that's the question I just asked Bob, was on the other side of the road where, Eddie's and all that industrial, what that part is zoned, that's what you said is?
No, basically, that's over here. That's the industrial. That's where
Okay.
Eddie's Auto Body is over here. This is basically the town garage, Moore and Tree Works.
And that's IG,
That's the IG3.
okay.
So
And then where Eddie's Auto and all that, what's that zone?
that's IG1.
Okay.
So there's a little, basically what's the difference, IG1 was an older industrial area, and so they're smaller lots.
Okay,
And so that is a little bit heavier density than what is allowed in the 2 and 3. And so we'd be looking at something with lighter density than what the IG1 is. So, and I think it's nice that this is basically what's across the street.
Right.
So we're basically combining the uses with what's on the other side. And the town garage, I mean, obviously it's a big metal building, and so this is behind the power line. So seems like another appropriate place to build something that would be warehousing and that sort of thing.
right.
So.
Well, it sounds, excuse me, but it sounds like a nice idea. You know, let's say you get approved for this. The end result is if you get something tasteful in a country area, that it doesn't look like Berlin Turnpike or what Bridge Road may turn out to look like, because they're losing that look of the historical area. And that is a nice farm area, and we all need business. So it's a great idea, more business, the better the town does. So if you're lucky enough to get this approved, which I'm behind you, the next thing is, because there's some nice residential houses, if I lived across the street, I certainly would want something tasteful coming in. And I know once you get your foot in the door, hopefully, people approve this, is something pleasant gonna go up across the street that doesn't affect
There's some
homeowners.
houses up in there.
Well, Ralph, basically you've got architectural approval in this zone. This zone has some pretty sophisticated zoning to it.
Right.
So in order to build a building there, you have to have architectural approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So you
That's a
can't
field
just
thing.
build,
Well, I've seen some of
Yeah,
their
right below A,
approvals.
that's,
It's not
And then when you
too,
go down here and you start going towards,
that's another farm.
and we have evidence of that in town.
and then there's houses.
So we need more business
And
in
then
town,
it'll
this
go
is a
up.
great idea.
Houses.
But
Oh.
the end result is hopefully it's
Gonna be
something
pest and those
tasteful
guys
that
are
you
down
have
that
in
way.
mind for retail.
They're,
You know, and that's a hard thing for that neighborhood to
yeah, they're
digest.
on that way.
I would hope out that Shagbark, in keeping with its ethics and values, wouldn't do anything besides that.
Well, that's a great country charm that Shagbark has. It's very inviting for business, for lumber, and feed. But as you go further up the road, you get less into a commercial atmosphere, and all of a sudden you're bringing retail up there, but it can be done nicely.
It can be.
That's what
and-
we cross
and
our
again-
fingers on.
And again, it's not even gonna be seen.
Yeah, but you want road frontage there. That's where you'd like to
No,
have.
there's no road frontage there.
On Part A,
Oh,
just
Part
past
A?
Fred's house.
Oh, I don't even see that like happening.
Well, that would be part of it, and that would be very desirable to have
Yeah.
your
Oh,
front door.
Yeah, and that would definitely, I
visibility.
mean, I don't think Shiburg would want anything but, the best.
Well,
Keeping with
yeah,
tradition.
but technically, bottom line is, when somebody comes in to buy it, they'll make the choice, and hopefully the zoning board will approve of it. It's something tasteful.
And I certainly
Now,
think
once
that's
Fred
what
may
everybody's
own it, but once he
intention.
sells it, usually,
I don't think, I don't think Shagberg, I think they're more interested in renting this property than they are selling it. I don't, Fred, don't mean to put, I don't mean to put words in your
lease
mouth.
all those different pieces of property.
Yeah, more rental than.
Well, if you look,
So-
I mean, Fred's house is on A.
Yeah, A is,
So why
half
is
of
he
it's
gonna,
Fred's
why
house.
is he gonna put, like,
Well, because of human
Unattractive.
nature, it's just like many examples. You can't look at me like that. Look at our town village. We're hoping something tasteful goes into there, and look at the Moodus village. There's a perfect example of the town was led to believe that something tasteful was gonna go up. And the town lost control of it. As in many projects, you don't wanna lose control of it. So all I'm saying is I got my fingers crossed that something tasteful would go there out of respect for the neighborhood.
and Ralph, right here, like,
Yes, I
like if
see.
you look at A,
Right where Fred's
you
house
see the
is.
house right there,
Yes,
that's
I
Fred's
see.
house.
I grew up there. I know all the
Oh,
houses
okay.
by name.
Mhm.
I've traveled that road daily.
Mhm.
I'm very aware of that area.
Okay.
Well, I certainly think that the proposal you brought before us here is something that's certainly a good idea. It certainly gives the town something that, again, this is part of the plan of conservation and development. We're looking to expand the industrial zones, because basically we don't have any. And we don't have any raw land that to build these buildings on. So I think that this is a good step in the right direction, and so I certainly support your request here. And so I think what I'd be looking for is basically a motion saying that economic development. Oh, no, sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Do you guys know if there is, light industrial storage in other towns, surrounding towns, or is this something that
There are.
they do have it?
And actually, some of the, people we've been talking to, about it actually own their own storage, specifically. We've looked at the sites in Essex and, Deep River, and so.
So this
those
is
are-
something
that's
that
right.
people are looking for. So what my point
It
is,
is.
And
the
that,
question is, are we gonna bring more people into town that don't wanna go as far as Essex, maybe Colchester people, or
We'll
maybe,
keep
you know what I
people
mean?
here.
Or you
like
keep
some
people
of our-
here.
Some of our businesses are going to Essex, and
Okay.
they're going to other towns because we don't have that need to build for them.
right.
We, down in
That's a good
the
thing.
Essex, one that's across the street from Essex Savings Bank, done a very nice job down there. And I think Fred and Julia have been down to that one. And we have 3 East Haddam businesses who couldn't find space in East Haddam, and they are renting in Essex because they can't find these spaces that we need in East Haddam.
and there's some, of these type of parks up towards the Chester Airport. And they're very nice and such, but there's a huge need for it, cause,
There's another
they're
spot.
full.
Yeah, Chester Airport,
Area,
industrial
yeah,
area,
industrial park,
very
yeah.
tastefully done, nice looking buildings, and are very appropriate uses. Deep River, they, basically the town, financed the incubator, buildings down there. And, they were basically leased out in a very short period of time, and now, they're going into another expansion, but it's being done with all private money. And
So this is a good, going forward to what you were saying, is that one of the things that this is gonna do is it's gonna keep either our businesses that we have in the town staying here and buying lunch here as opposed to on the other side of the river down to their storage or whatever, but also it's gonna open up other possibilities for other people out of town to come here, because this might be closer. So this is a good thing. This is a great thing. So I think we should definitely.
What motion would you like that we?
Well, this would also include like
Support
storage,
this.
building rentals, like small buildings,
To the
There would be
like small storage or?
zoning,
There would be 1,000 to 2,000 square foot units. So, you
Like-
know.
like what's in
our vision
Tylerville?
is to have like collapsible walls, so you could either have like 1,000 feet or 2,000 square feet.
Like what's in Tylerville, in the back of the donut shop?
I haven't been.
I think that's personal storage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
no, it's
Would that
different.
also be personal storage like that too?
No,
or-
it's commercial.
You ever been down to the one down
Yeah.
in Essex?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically,
I just wanted to know if there was.
Oh,
also
that's what they were
include,
proposing.
Like,
Yeah. well,
you know, like small storage in
yeah,
that.
well, it would,
It could, right?
it could, right, it's an allowable use in the zone. It's
And
allowable
B,
use.
Yeah,
I mean, I never thought about it, but yeah.
We don't have any of that either.
It's there, you do it. I mean, if you give it enough call for it.
what's the next step?
Jim? I think basically that their first paragraph in their letter requesting that the East Haddam Economic Development Commission submit and request and apply to the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission for a map amendment. And I think that's what we would be doing, assisting, recommending that this area be considered for rezoning to planning and zoning.
I make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? And all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Very good. And so we look forward to working with you, and we'll basically work with planning and zoning and see if we can get this before the Planning and Zoning Commission and let them take a look at it.
And what does that mean?
what's our next step, Bob?
What we'd be doing is meeting
together.
with planning and zoning and seeing what steps and how they would like to proceed. And I think that with this recommendation from economic development, it can take the next step.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there.
Do we need a letter or anything, or we just have to just walk into Jim's office?
I'll just walk into Jim's
You
office.
get put on their agenda.
And basically, we'll review what it is and what they're requesting, and from there, if they, basically, we're going to be doing the request. So if we need letters or applications or whatever, then basically we'll do that paperwork and get the thing in motion here, and then bring it before the board and get their comments and thoughts, and basically work with planning and zoning to see if we can accomplish this.
Does it have to go through wetlands too, as part of the?
Not part of the zone change, no.
No.
That would be after you want a use. If you came in for a building permit,
Right.
first you have to get a zone saying that this zone would be zoned for an industrial use, because right now they can't go for a building permit because it's not zoned for that.
Yes,
So first they
understand.
gotta do the zoning, and then they would be going for a building permit. That would end up.
So we don't have to deal with wetlands now?
We won't be
No.
dealing with wetlands.
No,
We'd just
whoever
be
is the business,
We'd be just dealing
they'll
with
be
basically.
dealing with it, or their lease,
Let's
or.
stay away from the wetlands.
Well, no, you'll eventually get there, because, and they're gonna
Well,
want.
I'm not advocating for that either, trust me.
Right.
Hopefully on vacation like
No, I think the big thing will be is they'll be looking for buffering and
Yeah.
basically they're gonna be looking for buffering for the neighborhood, they're gonna be looking for buffering from basically the wetlands and protection for the wetlands and all that, but that's all into there once they get to
Yeah,
looking
and the
at
only
an application.
residential affected is in front of A, correct?
Pardon me?
The only residential that would the only effect it would have on residential would be in section A, correct?
And that's in Fred's backyard.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that, I think the location is just very appropriate for the use that they're proposing here. And so I think it's certainly well worthy to bring before planning and zoning, and especially when the Plan of Conservation Development says to do exactly this.
Right.
So I think that that's what they're looking for, is to see how they can get, because of the shortage of industrial land in the community. And especially to take and have something where we can get the businesses to either stay here or to even better locate here. So either way. All right, well, that's great.
Well, the area is the only vital access anyway to town anyway. It's
Yeah,
Perfect for that.
yeah, no, it is, this is exactly what we do. Fred, thank you. Julie, thank you for your presentation, and we'll be in contact with you, and we'll be working with planning and zoning.
Good to see you.
a long time.
How you doing? How's it been? Good. Just got married?
Just got remarried, Liz died 10 years ago. 2 weeks ago, yeah. Been a good 2 weeks so far.
Good. Congratulations. Everything's going well?
Yeah.
Somebody do it for you. Right?
Yeah.
You find somebody newer than him to be married. Got all kinds of newbies here.
Time goes by and it's blink.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. I'll stop and say hello. Congratulations again, Fred.
I didn't make a face at you. I'm really sorry. It's a lot.
This is more Zach.
Oh, yeah, it is more of a zag, but it's still, we would call it 4 corners.
Yeah, I've been trying to get the kids on.
Yeah, yeah, I know it. The other item we have on the agenda here is the possible creation of a business district from the 4 corners, basically south on Town Street. I've had conversations with basically planning and zoning. They've had applications from basically businesses down here. Basically, Staley's have certainly brought this all about. And so, again, part of the plan of conservation and development have basically, and I think we're going to find it's going to be written in there, that this area should be considered for some kind of a business use. Right now, even like with Staley's, what we're doing is we're giving allowable uses for businesses through basically farm use. And we're probably stretching it a bit to be doing this. The farms down there have basically got retail in them. And farm use is supposed to be basically raised on the farm, and I think that they're doing is looking at it in reality here. You know, maybe 10 or 20% is coming on the farm, and the other stuff is basically retail. And so I wanted to just let the commission know this is what they're looking at and they're considering, is making some kind of a.
Zoning again?
Pardon?
They are zoning, you're talking about?
Yeah, this is the planning and zoning, and basically through the plan of conservation and development is kind of bringing this out. We've had some meetings with them, and it's kind of interesting. So I think what's kind of we've got probably, you know, it's almost 50% business down there now. When you take Wolf's Den, which is, you know, they've got stores in there, they've got commercial uses in there. And so I think what we have to look at is, would we consider this an area that we should have some kind of business uses that the business people can utilize? And I think we have to be very cautious of what we propose for the area. I think this is an area that is mixed, and it's a mixed use. It's residential and business.
So you're talking south of Petticoat Lane, because there already is with
The zone
Miller's.
ends at Genesex. That's where that's the end of the industrial zone right now.
Okay, and then we go with Miller's and Susan's and
That's
Sanibel's.
going north.
Okay,
And so now we're talking south. of
okay,
that.
okay.
So we're
South
talking
of Genesex?
south of Genesex. So basically going towards Woolston.
Where's that?
Oh, so from Staley's down
Well,
to
Woolston, you can tell that's the one where they see all the roads and all the dots where they can see that's the trailer park.
And then you've got Rail Light farther
And then
south.
Rail Light is the next big one you see down there.
That's south.
Right.
So you go from Staley's
What would it
to
really
Woolston.
affect, Bob, other than the barns across the street?
What it would affect is basically
How far past?
allowing these businesses to have retail.
So it would change would it change the zoning for like you said, a Staley's farm products, but retail products?
Right, yes.
And it would change the zoning for, Wolfton, which has got gift shops and selling retail.
So it'd
would
make
change
all
all
those allowable uses.
Okay.
And across the street.
And
where
across the
barns
street,
are.
yeah.
That barn that's right on the, well, that's already there, that's a.
Well, and there is retail
Well,
all up.
and you've also
Right.
got basically Landmarks
Exactly.
property, they
They're
wanna
already-
do
so
some
they're all-
commercial uses there.
But needs to be.
They're all really
So
doing.
they're talking about having a visitor center
Yeah,
there.
it's all.
So what are we trying to do, just get it compliant with what's actually going on?
And
Exactly.
opening up, I'd say Staley's have probably one of the bigger pieces of property there, the two families, Staley's.
Yeah.
Opening that
Yeah.
property up to commercial uses,
Yeah.
but it would certainly help.
So
Right.
extending the uses of the land more than what they're already doing?
Yeah,
Or
because
just
it's residential.
encompassing what they're doing?
It's giving them the ability to expand what they are actually retailing.
Retail.
And,
Okay.
so in other words, you can take and buy your shrubbery and sell your shrubbery there, and that's a retail use. They're not, unless they're growing it on their property, that's a retail
Well,
use.
right, like the meats and the honeys and all the imports that they may be local, but they're not being produced on that farm. Okay, now my question is though, because there is a lot of residential there and stuff, that would change that all those residential could be retail usage.
Yes.
How far south? How far?
Basically to River Road.
River Road. So where
River Road is,
Where the historical society is, there's a couple of houses there.
It's just
Right.
before you get to Ray Light.
Real light.
Yes.
How far south of Mount Parnassus does it start?
Uh,
Where does it start?
probably a half a mile south.
Mount
Right.
Parnassus.
Right across the street is River
So
Road.
River,
So right,
yeah, I thought it was a little
it
further
would
south.
be, it would
I
encompass
thought it was this.
Miller's and
This?
Susan's.
Miller's is already
And
part of
Susan's
the,
and-
no, they are already in the commercial
River
zone.
Road.
They're commercial, but not retail.
That's not.
Oh, no,
Yes,
that's
because
right.
they are retail,
You're right.
Well, they have to be
because
retail, that's all they
they're
do.
in the IG, they're in the IG2 zone that goes all the way to.
Okay, and that's retail,
must be
not
Ray
just
Light.
commercial.
Right.
Okay,
I got you.
okay.
If you're, commercial, you're retail.
Retail, okay.
It wouldn't affect, if you had a house in this new, say they created a new business zone, you had a house, it wouldn't affect what you could do with your property.
Sure would.
Yes, it would allow you to
Sure, it
do,
would.
let's say, do a doctor's office out of it. You could have your,
When you go
your
to-
accounting office in there. So you could have an office
right,
used
right,
in your
that's right.
home,
You could
which
open a shop.
you could open a shop.
In a lot of towns where you see that they've developed where, Chester has a whole section that once was residential and now is all insurance, doctor's offices, lawyers' offices. And that, those homes were all converted through that exact same.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of what we're thinking of proposing here is to see, and just really what we're looking for is this something that we think would be good for the town to make this area, because it's such a business area already, and I think that I don't want to restrict them what they can sell. I can sell this product and I can't sell that
But
product.
what do you expect the pushback from the residents there? Do you?
I think it will depend on what we're proposing the uses to be. And I think we'd need some input as to what we think are appropriate. And I think what we're talking about is basically office use. Right now, in a residential zone, you can only have, let's say if you wanted to do it, have an office, it can only be your personal office. It can't be a rental office. That's what happened basically on the top of Boardman Road and Route 82. There was the little building they built there, and they wanted to rent it for commercial use. Couldn't do it because it had to be owner occupied. And so that would open this area up to basically any of the houses that are there. If they wanted to take 50% of their first floor and make it into offices or make it into a retail or make it into a little store, they could do that. That's if we propose this business use in the zone.
Are we creating another zone?
Yes,
to
Yeah.
limit it, so like, you know, it's like
Yeah.
a 3A or 3B or 4.
No, it's,
Yeah, it'll be basically, it's probably be similar to what, there'd be a business, probably be a BA, a business zone, of some kind to, that would be, I would say, fairly restrictive as to what you could do.
does that change the tax basis for those?
If you change the use, yeah.
So now,
What about, does it encompass just one side of the road or the whole? Like,
No, the whole, both sides of the street, and then we'd have to say how far back we want it to go, whether we want it to be. Mount Parnassus is basically, they change zones at, I think, 400 feet back. So it would probably typically be we would come up with some footage of whatever we think is appropriate based on the uses that are there. You know, we'd probably certainly go to the back of Wolf's Den. And probably come up with some place where it would be appropriate for Staley's.
Their cidery that they're working on their zoning for and such now. What zone is that? Is that commercial or?
Where is that now?
at Stanley's.
At Staley's?
Yeah, the cidery.
They're basically utilizing the rights of farm. And so they're going through the uses allowed on a farm. And I think that could be interpreted one way or the other, because it's not a real clear thing. I think it would be a lot better for a business if it's clear that they could have a tasting room, that they could have sales of shops, of sale of product that's not necessarily grown on the farm.
What does that do to these houses across the street? You know, if I had a house across the street from all this, you know, does that help my property value or does it hinder my property values? Because now I mean, a lot of these places are back off the lots, you know, kind of on the back, but there's a couple or few that are
there's
right
like
across the street.
5 or 6,
You know, and then there's a few more, like, I mean, they're kind of used to the traffic anyway because they're across the street from Staley's, they're across the street from Wolf's Den. So they're kind of used to the traffic flow. But if you put in more commercial businesses in those houses, say those people who have owned the houses for years decide to put in a doctor's office, you're not going to get too many more people. But when they go to sell, you know, now you're looking at a lit parking lot, and you know, so I mean, I know we're only talking about 6 people, but it's could be their life savings.
Changes,
So
right,
what
it
are we
changes
doing?
the-
You know?
What is the process for changing that?
It would be.
Does they all get notified?
Oh,
Is there
yes.
a public
Oh,
hearing?
oh, yeah. It's
So any issues like that are gonna get flushed out.
basically, we would be going to planning and zoning and saying that we think this is appropriate, it's not appropriate. Then we'd have to come up with basically the uses that we think are appropriate in this area. I think that it's something that will be, and of course there'll be public hearings on it. Everybody in the neighborhood would be notified that something is being considered, have a right to speak up and either support or feel that they need additional protection. Certainly there'd be an area where we'd be using a lot of buffering in between anybody who is doing anything. And you know, all these things would have to be brought out. I just think it's looking a way in which to make operating a business in the community and the existing businesses easier to basically conform to the regulations.
So do you have to do a whole zone, or can you do it by section or by lot?
No, that would be spot zoning then. You have to do it by a
And I guess
section.
my thought process is like New Inn Kennel that's up there, they sell product and stuff, so are they retailing, is that a spot zoned area? Because that's in the middle of houses.
Right, yes. And
So how was that?
They went through, I
an
think,
exception process.
or they went through
Business, right?
ZBA, I don't know what. I don't know how they got there.
It's like the business,
It's like a
want it in your
home-based
house.
business,
It's
ultimately.
Right.
So home occupation
home occupation.
has to be operated
That's why I
by
asked if you
the
do it by
owners
lots or
of
it's
the
gotta be a
property.
whole.
Probably not when you're, you know, proposing a zone.
Right.
Excuse me, how about Main Street East Haddam? 4 or 5 years ago, Main Street East Haddam was going through the same thing. Did they ever establish that?
That was going up Route 82?
Yeah,
No.
no, 140.
149? Oh, yeah, they got the Village District that goes all the way
To the
to
bottom of
the Landing Hill. And that they can utilize for business uses.
Right, so that's basically.
And it didn't-
That's the same kind of idea. And,
Went to the bank.
Put in the-
What defines the area? Is it from Four Corners to River Road? Is that what I heard?
no, basically it's the zone right now, which is the IG2, which is the commercial zone, runs basically south from Mount Parnassus Road to Janisek's property. So that would be Sanibel's
Okay.
property. So that would include basically Miller's Antiques, Susan's Salon, and basically the properties that are Sanibel's property.
You wanna extend from
From
Sanibel
there
down
down,
to Wolf's Den.
and basically that is
Wolf Den?
Wolf's Den,
River Road.
right.
Would
right.
that
You've got
include-
Wolf's Den, you've got the East Adam Historical Society, you've got Staley's, you've got basically what used to be Wolf's Dive Shops is in there.
Within that, between
With
River
that.
Road
And basically what would be the end of the industrial zone right now. So it would be that section in there.
Would it include this piece of property? Is that one of the Staley's here?
That's Staley's. I mean, we can basically either include it or not include it. I think it's the idea, is this something that we think is something we should be looking into and maybe discussing around this table over the next few months, and seeing if this is an area that we think is appropriate, and would it be beneficial to incoming businesses and existing businesses. And I think that we should try to see what we can do to help the existing businesses to make the process, if they wanted to expand, it's very difficult, and because they're either non-conforming uses, so it's very difficult to do anything. And we've got some good businesses here, and I mean, Wolf's Den, they do a great job over there, and I think that Staley's, the activity that's going on in Staley's is fantastic for this community.
I think, since we're the Economic Development Committee, we should explore this and see how far it goes.
Would you be willing to sit on a committee to basically be a subcommittee to work on exploring this?
Sure.
Okay. And would anybody else like to be on a subcommittee to explore this? And, certainly. Okay, but it's probably enough that the three of us, Jim, Susan, and myself, we could be a subcommittee to take a look at this, see if we think it makes some sense, and we'll bring it back to the board.
Now, does Janisek does it actually end at Janisek, or is that grandfathered in?
No, Janisek is in the
So he's in
commercial
solid.
IG2 zone, no.
Okay.
And that was something that basically economic development did 2 years ago. We basically got all that zoning to be uniform through there.
Okay.
And
I knew there was a-
working with planning and zoning, it was very messy before. There was
Right.
11 different zones there, and it was so difficult for
Right.
the businesses to operate, and we
That's
had
why I asked.
some of the businesses basically came in and asked us what we could do to help get some more uniformity in that zone. And so I think that that area is in pretty good shape now. It took us over a year to accomplish that, but I think when we were all done, there was a unanimous vote by planning and zoning to bring that into 3 zones. And I think it was a lot of work from planning and zoning and a lot of work from economic development, but I think we basically ended up with a good product. And so we'll take a look at this as a subcommittee, and we'll come back and we'll let you know what we found and what we're thinking, and see what the rest of the board thinks.
Is this being proposed by planning and zoning? This is what, and they're asking your board to sort of.
No,
weigh in?
basically, this is something that has come up in the Plan of Conservation and Development discussions.
Okay.
And I think that the next logical step is to see if economic development thinks that what is being proposed is something that we think has some merit, and what would be appropriate for the area.
And then you bring it to planning and zoning?
Then we would bring it to planning and zoning.
And what's the zone now that you would redo? It's all farm use?
It's basically, it's R1 zone and R2 zone. So it'd be a residential R1 and R2s.
But you say that people can do businesses if it's a farm-based business?
There's some allowable uses if it's a farm.
Under R1 and R2?
Yes, because that would be
Farm
allowable.
stands.
They're allowable uses in a residential zone.
Okay.
But they're fairly restrictive to what you can do. And this would be just enabling some of the property owners to have more uses of their property.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll take a look at that, and we'll get back to you on that and what's happening there. One of the things I added to the list, and I know we've had it on and off, of Chatham Health. Chatham Health, basically, we do not have, before we had a representative who was here in the building and was pretty much on staff around here, Kim. She was the last one we had. Kim did resign, and so she's not with Chatham Health any longer. And so we don't really have anybody in the health office right now. Basically, they are rotating on a need basis. There certainly looks like they have personnel limitations within Chatham Health. And I think that if it isn't, it's becoming something of a concern for certainly the
It's been a concern.
businesses out here. And I think that maybe we should be maybe having some communications with the director and see what their intent is with having somebody here in this building and having them available to, you have between the health in the stores for food service, what's being done out there, do we have our restaurants being inspected, and then also with the contractors, how is it going with actually getting our inspections out in the field?
The costs.
And the costs that are involved in not having somebody here. So,
And we're paying for it anyway.
and we're paying a set fee
Yeah,
for
well,
this.
the director was supposed to, last time we had a meeting with them, they were supposed to bring forth their breakdown. The X amount of dollars we're giving them,
Yes.
plus all their fees.
Yep.
Never did
We never
receive
got
that.
that, right?
And we're
No.
supposed to get a correction in the popcorn guy,
Yes.
the fee schedule. I'm being.
Yeah, I remember
Right.
the
But we've cycled through this fair season.
And didn't Kevin send a letter? Didn't we send a letter? We never sent.
No, we never sent the letter over to him. And, but I think that we should basically,
But
Coming back,
aren't we the biggest contributor? How many
Yes.
towns are left in this thing?
five?
Yeah,
Or
East
four.
Hampton, East Haddam.
but who walked out?
We're not the
Marlboro.
largest.
Haddam.
We're not the largest
Yeah.
contributor?
No, East Hampton, East Hampton, East Haddam, Marlboro,
Portland?
Hebron, Portland.
I thought we were the highest fee schedule, if I recall correctly, because we're mostly septic in East. I thought that was what
Yeah.
was explained to me. Am I misunderstanding?
No, that was what my understanding was
My
too.
understanding was we were the
Biggest
hi-
contributor.
Maybe I'm phrasing this.
Well, wait, no, it's
Right.
based on population though, isn't it? What's our fee based on?
That's what he was supposed to come back to us
Right.
with, is the per capita.
It'd be nice to invite him back.
All right, all right. And,
No, I'm confused.
Okay.
Are we or aren't we?
I don't know.
Everybody knows.
The biggest,
The biggest, I thought we had the biggest fee
Hey.
contribution to them because we were the largest. It was explained to us that
The
East
largest
Hampton has
land
septic
area?
and everything else.
No, East Hampton is
I mean, has
sewers.
sewers.
Sewer.
And that because we have septic, that's why our fee schedule was so high. Did I misunderstand that?
Oh,
It kind of sounds.
I'm not sure what, there's a basic fee that we pay on an annual basis to be
Yes,
here.
sir.
Then there's the fees that people pay for services.
Yes, sir.
You may be speaking of a fee for service. We have more septic than other towns.
So we generate more income for them by having more
Because we have
septic.
so many more
So that
septic
was what it was.
See the breakdown.
Because we have so many septic customers to them, it generates income for them because of the fees that our septic customers pay.
Okay.
Without seeing the numbers, I couldn't tell you overall, because other towns have other things that they.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get the numbers.
No.
Well,
And we.
let me take and talk to Don Mitchell. He's the director over there. And let's see if we can't get, answer that question right there. How much money are we paying into
Well,
this?
we wanted to be able to.
Was here?
Yes, that
Yes,
was Don.
and we wanted to be able to compare oranges to oranges by the Lower Connecticut River Valley's Health Department. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's the other.
What their fees versus what Chatham Health fees are and how they line out. And if they're regulated by the state or mandated by the state that there's a certain amount that they have to be, or if that's something that's more of a free fee schedule.
Are we having a problem without someone in the?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Try and get an inspection.
Makes it difficult.
Yeah, it makes it tough.
And it's tough for contractors to basically get inspections.
And if we are contributing all this money, and somebody applying for a license and what they're applying for are paying the highest fee because of our schedule, then I think should be prioritized as far as being
Well,
accommodated.
and the other towns are the same. They're pressuring them to get it done. So you're trying to pull two people in.
I mean, in other words,
in
I
six
think we
ways.
should have somebody here, right? If we're paying.
Sounds like you're saying we're paying more on a unit. No, if we're
Well, that
doing the septic system, the individual pays more. I think we have more septic systems.
So our overall contribution,
So we end
correct?
up- If we have 100 and somebody else only has 50, at the same rate.
So they're not paying any more than the other 4 towns that are in
No,
the system?
per person.
Individual
There's just a
unit.
lot
On a
more
fee.
business here.
Okay.
No,
For
there's,
septic.
there's,
More septic, right.
Right.
from
for
my
septic.
understanding, there's a 2 steps. One's based on population, that you pay a fee on per head, isn't that right?
Exactly.
And then the other is all the income
Service
that
fees.
comes in from the services that we pay to Chatham, which I've never seen a breakdown on. And when he was here, remember we asked him how much money came out of the town of East Haddam, and he did not know. And
He said he could get it for us easily. He just
Yes.
didn't know it off the top of his head.
So let me ask him for that, but I can also ask him that what is the intent as far as having somebody in this office, at least say there's gonna be somebody on here Mondays and Tuesdays.
There's a lot of competition with other towns that are in their economic development and their developing in their business process that it's running really slow, and so they're putting a lot of pressure on other health departments and stuff because they need their inspections, much as we do. So it's kind of a who's the squeakier wheel or putting more pressure on. And if we had a regular schedule, we had somebody here on a regular basis, then those things would be taken care of instead of, well, we can't get to it because, we're getting a lot of squeak from the other town. And
Well,
so-
that was my
so-
next question.
Right.
Is it inhibiting you in our function? And what has happened with the popcorn guy? So are we at the point where we can't get for our thing, the popcorn guy again?
No,
because
we'll get it.
Did we
but
ever
it-
get the fee
Yeah, it-
reduced and?
No.
No, we didn't. And the fair season for this year and the farmer's market actually came and went,
Right.
as things do, and it took it over and stuff. But that's why it's on the agenda still, is because we've never come to any resolution with it. We've just still have all these hanging questions that we still need the answers to.
Well, the other thing is for example, I have a friend who has a septic business, and he can't stand doing business over here.
Yeah.
So that's not a good thing to have on our, like the closed for business sign in regards to septic and what needs to be done and how that works. It's not happening because we don't have the Chatham Health Department here doing what they need to do. So like
Exactly.
Sue just said, if we had a set day of the week where we knew that Chatham was gonna be here and they could do the inspections, then people would know that, okay, I can put that septic field in for that person because I can get it inspected in time. But if I can't get Chatham in here, then I'm waiting and I'm not
4, 6,
working
8,
and doing a
12
job
weeks.
when I can't go through the various steps that you need to go. So without Chatham being part of the team to get businesses open or do work in our town, then it doesn't help us. So we have to get a health department who's gonna be, you know,
Basically-
answer to us a little bit better so that we can continue moving along.
Yeah. And
Well, we had a huge amount of issues. What are our other options? Because Haddam pulled out. I mean, do we,
Lower
They
Connecticut.
went
do we have
to they went
do
to a
we have
local sanitarian
contractual
company.
agreement that's,
well, basically, there are other health districts. I mean, basically, that's what happened.
But there's certain requirements, you have to put it to, you have to let them know that you're leaving with so many days or so many months' notice, and then you have to put it to
Town
town
vote.
vote, that you wanna do that and you wanna move to a different one, and so there's a lot, and you have a deadline of like, the end of December, 1st of December.
End of December, by January 1, you have to
So,
notify them
so
that you don't want.
that's
their
why
service.
last year when we started this conversation, we had like a month. Well, you can't do all these things in a month, but now we're in September, and there's more time to be able to get
maybe
that.
now we should be thinking about that.
Correct. That's-
Well, I think that when we see that the services that we're paying for are not being performed, and basically contractors can't get the services they need, because those, you need them when you need them. I mean, basically, the first thing you do, you go out and you strip. Well, okay, you gotta have an inspection for that. Well, then you set the system, and then you need another inspection for that before you can cover it. So, you know, you just can't leave your bulldozer sitting there while we wait 2 days for this inspector to show up. And so I think that we need to have some idea whether Chatham Health intends to hire other personnel, because obviously they've got a shortage of personnel. And also, why does somebody
they
who
meet our
comes
needs,
in
right?
and they left in 6 months?
Right, are
They were only here for 6 months.
Are they gonna survive? As in-
Well, and
Now, it's another good question. But I think that we need to know whether Chatham intends to have some personnel in this building, or whether they're going to just rotate some people from other towns. And when you're rotating people from Hebron, that's not realistic that they can have inspections in East Haddam.
That's a long ride.
It's a long run, and he's got inspections to do, and that's his town.
Do you know what Haddam has done to?
Yeah, they went to basically
Lower Connecticut.
the lower Connecticut River, which is out of Saybrook.
Civic.
Right, oh, that's another group that supplies the same service.
Yes, yeah, it's another health.
And they all have to meet the same state
Right.
statutes
But I
and
wonder what that
mandates. and-
fee is for them, because you're relatively
That's
the
what-
same.
Well, and the other big thing here is
Yeah.
talk to your contractors and see what your contractors have to say about the
That's
two
what I've heard.
services. And between when basically Chatham was doing their inspections and doing their administration, and when basically the lower Connecticut River Valley is. Basically, everybody I've talked to, whether you're talking about people in town hall or people in the field who are the contractors, they are 100% happy with what's going on now out of the lower Connecticut River Valley.
Well, and so
Yeah.
maybe what we need to do is maybe we need to have a committee that goes and talks with Chatham and answers these questions that we have, then goes and talks with Lower Connecticut and answers some of the questions of that, and then brings it back to all of us, and then maybe we can make some kind of
That-
formulated, instead of us making
Yes.
questions with no answers.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. We should have two of us or something should, or
Whoever.
three or whatever,
Yeah.
should go over to the office in East Hampton.
Make a meeting
Let's
with him.
sit down with him,
Right.
tell us let him know what we have, our concerns. I mean, he's a gentleman. Don is a real gentleman.
He-
He's
he-
a nice
very
man to
nice,
work
yeah.
with, and I
Right,
think
and then we don't know what Lower Connecticut, and I'm, all those words.
Yeah.
We don't know what they offer, and, you know, we've heard good things about them, we've heard
Yes.
it's less money, we've heard, you know, good street talk about it.
yes.
But that doesn't mean that they fit our needs, so
Right,
like I said, we
exactly.
have to find that out.
No, he's been very
Yeah,
pleasant.
yeah.
Are you on the board for them, Emmett,
I'm on the board.
for Chatham Health?
And some of the questions, I've got the information in my office. But they're having problems, they're all having problems right now.
In regards to what?
And some of it has to do with certification of sanitation officers. And apparently the state has got that really fouled up. And everybody's running short right now.
Yeah.
And Kim just walked out on us. That,
Oh.
for a
Better.
variety of reasons, which are under discussion now within Chatham. And they're looking to replace her without a whole lot of luck.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, we're covered from, what I don't know what you call it, from day to day, and it isn't predictable when somebody's gonna be here, that's the problem. I've gotta talk to Don about that, listening to you, I'm coming up with the questions and comments for Don right now.
Good, and I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
I think
Like
we're
I
trying
say,
to accomplish
a
is
committee to.
how can we get this so it works?
Going to Saybrook is not necessarily the best answer.
Right.
We don't
And we
know.
don't know that because we
We don't
haven't,
know.
you know, we're just going off of hearsay.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, the popcorn reference is that we had an issue. I don't know if you were here for the
The way they
meeting.
were charging the fees. on
The
popcorn.
fees, right, so,
I heard about that. and some of
So
that
he
is
was
not-
gonna try to do something to,
If somebody doesn't apply in a timely fashion, suddenly it becomes incredibly expensive.
yeah, right.
And,
Oh.
wait a minute, the penalties are excessive.
well, and I think we were also looking at something to do something like a 3-day fee schedule, aren't we?
Well, no, something
No,
that was
basically
longer
3
than a
months.
3-day, yeah.
Or a 3 month,
Yeah.
We wanted to make it so they could use it for the
Right.
season.
That's
Right.
correct.
Not
Right,
for the,
like
not
the
for
fair
the
season,
weekend,
right.
but make it for the season. So let's do that. Would anybody like to volunteer for basically? You'll do that? Okay.
I'm interested in it, but.
You're interested
yeah.
in it? Okay, all right. And let's take and see what we can come up with. But
You're the fee guy. It's your popcorn machine, buddy.
So I was just sticking up for the poor popcorn guy. You made me feel horrible.
I know, he only
And the
makes
kids,
$25
and
for the whole
I
day
know,
anyway.
And the kids, it was terrible. I was thinking about the crying kids. Oh my God. Yeah.
All right,
I can.
He's in.
All right, okay, so we've got the subcommittee of maybe the 4 of us.
And Emmett can accommodate us. You have fees scheduled, right?
It take me a while to find
All right,
they can file.
right, but.
He's so busy. Is it better we just go to?
No.
Oh, no,
However
I'm
you
sure we
wanna
can
go.
get it out of Emmett's office, I'm sure that's all available. But
so-
let's see what we can do with Chatham, and certainly we can work with Emmett and get some information, and I think it would be interesting to basically go over and talk, and let's see what Don has to say, and let him know that this Economic Development Commission is.
So we have to pull this information together and bring it back next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right,
I'll drive the car.
I have a resignation from Kevin Staley. Kevin basically said that he's very busy on the farm, and things are going very well over there, and that he enjoys his time with economic development, but right now he has got to basically work on the farm, and I think that's great, and I think that we should write him a letter showing our appreciation for what he did do, and I'm sure that's going to come from the First Selectman's office.
He's already accepted his resignation.
Yeah, okay, and I think that you know, it's wonderful to have business people on this board. It really helps a lot because they're in this every day, and they know what works and what doesn't work. And when Zach was running the store, I wanted him to join this Economic Development Commission, because what better person than to have somebody who is basically in it every day and knows what food service inspections are, and also what's dealing with the general public, and I'm so anyway. I just let everybody know, and maybe we can just make a motion or something saying we accept the resignation of Kevin with regrets, and I'll write him a letter.
Can we send him a letter?
Yeah, I'll make up a letter thanking him for his.
I move that we accept Kevin's resignation, and we thank him for his hard work and all of his efforts on behalf of East Haddam and EDC.
I'll second that.
All right. All
So
those.
We'll send him a nice letter.
Yeah, we'll send him something nice, because I think that I really appreciated his input, and
Send him a bottle of wine.
David's
farm.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll appreciate it. But no, I really liked being able to get Kevin's advice, and
Do we need a motion for the stamp?
Oh, well, yeah, I
I'll
know.
vote for that.
You'll go for that?
I'll go for
Okay,
that.
all right. All those in favor of accepting Kevin's resignation, say aye.
Aye.
And certainly liked having him on here. And of course, I just wanted to bring out too that Zach has sold the Gristmill Market, and so there are new owners there. And And certainly wish them well, that he can basically keep that store going over there.
I was in there today, and there's some great prices in there.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's good.
Good, and we are absolutely a necessity to this town.
absolutely.
And so we need to,
Shopping local.
yes, keep that grocery store going over there as much as we possibly can. One other item I just wanted to bring up, the Plan of Conservation and Development. I've been going to a lot of their meetings just to see where they are. They are meeting with P&Z probably a couple times a month, and the meetings are interesting. Especially interesting is everything to do with economic development. There's been quite a bit. I think that their new plan is basically going to have some good stuff with economic development in it, and I think when we get a little bit more information, I would like to bring it back to the board, and I think that we should write a letter or certainly comments as to what we think should be in it. And I think that as we work on some of these things, we'll have a little better idea as to what we think is appropriate to what they're talking about. And I think this is one of them, to see what we could do with these different zones. I think they're looking to see what can we do to increase business in East Haddam. And I've been very encouraged to see planning and zoning looking to see what we can do, and their consultant. So far, I like the things they're throwing on the table, and so I think that there's a working relationship there, and I think that we should be participating in that, and certainly anybody who wants to go to those meetings, I think it's really interesting to see.
I was thinking we should invite them to that too, so they can hear and we can get some feedback.
I will bring that to them at their next meeting and let them know. But I think that this plan of conservation and development is definitely going to have some development part of it. And so I think that we need to be definitely at the table and be a part of that and make sure our wishes are made a part of this plan, and planning and zoning know what our wishes are of the ideas that are getting thrown on the table.
And I had just one last one, a request from the East Haddam Business Association. They were looking to have us consider being a sponsor of their business expo and such, and so if we could put that on new business and look at that. I did explain to them that we are budgeted and that wasn't something that was in our budget, so it would be highly doubtful that we would be able to do any kind of monetary sponsorship, but that we would maybe be able to do something in another way to support them.
I was going to say, I think their business expo, I think that it wouldn't be appropriate for us to make financial contributions to that, and I don't think there's any money to do it anyway.
I explained that.
But I do think that if it's agreeable around the table, I think we should basically be sponsoring this expo. It's obviously for business. It's to bring businesses in and give them some exposure, and I think that it looks good if we're basically sponsoring them in a way in which to not monetarily, but with basically our input and our support of their expo. And so. Matter of fact, I think it would be good if we had a motion to that effect, that Economic Development Commission will be sponsoring.
Make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
I'll second. All right. Basically, I think the idea is that we will be supporting their expo, which is coming in October
30th. And I believe it's in this
October
location.
30th, and we'll be basically either partnering with them or supporting them or whatever.
Right.
In the auditorium, they have that?
And I think it's going to be in this room right in here.
They're going to do breakout sessions and some booze and
All through the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and they're it sounds like it's kind of a neat idea and
Oh, I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think it's great. And
Is that a Saturday, a Monday, or?
no,
it's a during the week. It's a
30th is,
Tuesday.
I forget now what day the 30th is. It's a Thursday? Okay.
30th?
Of October, yeah.
Yeah, 30th of October. All right, we got a motion.
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
it was a Tuesday.
Okay. We got a motion on the floor here to support them and basically co-sponsor with them the Business Association for their expo. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Any public comment or questions for the board? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Look at that, unanimous.
Yeah, look at that. Long
You
night.
even have the audience.
You can tell when we don't have July and August.
Dave's glad
We make up for it in September.
Get right in-